Investing in loans and earning 10% per year is certainly not risk-free. There are a lot of risks that you should be aware of before investing your hard-earned money, and in today's video we will look at some of the most common risks and how you can minimize them. So if you don't want to lose money, I suggest sticking until the end of this video. I'm your host Jakub from P2P Empire, and if you are new to this channel and interested in becoming more educated about how to earn passive income by investing in loans, consider subscribing and hit the notification bell to not miss out on future videos. Alright, so last time I made a video about some of the safety aspects of P2P lending was in 2020. It was one of the first videos on this channel, so I figured since we got 8,000 more subscribers joining our community, it's a good idea to refresh our memory about the risks to consider when lending money online. In this video, we will discuss 4 major risk categories, the individual risks to consider and how you can minimize them in order to increase your chances to maybe not lose money in P2P lending. So the 4 categories are platform risk, lender risk, borrower risk and market risk. It's important to note that some risks affect you more than others depending on the platform that you are using. So platform risks are factors that are directly correlated with every platform that you are using. The biggest risk investors are facing is that shady individuals run the company. You have to conduct a thorough background check to figure this one out. A sneak peek into the LinkedIn profile will not be enough. You can minimize this risk by creating a file documenting the management's track record, including previous employment and important key decisions. So basically going full into detective mode. Another risk can also be incompetent people. Sometimes platforms are just run by people who lack experience in the field, which will ultimately harm your investments. While politically exposed people do not run most platforms, a few exceptions exist. You should note that a former politician in an Eastern European country is well connected and politically protected when they pull the plug. A risk many investors face can also be a poorly developed platform with many bugs, which can potentially cause a security threat. While this is something most investors without a tech background won't figure out, I always recommend at least turning on the 2FA, using long passwords and not sharing access with anyone. It's also not uncommon to see personal data being exposed by hackers that manage to get their hands on the list of investors' emails from third-party services such as email providers. Another risk to consider is the management of funds. So many platforms keep their investors' funds in segregated and dedicated business accounts. Some even offer better solutions like the implementation of individual IBAN accounts from licensed services such as Lemonway or Paysera, which increase the safety of your uninvested funds. The risk can also be expanded to the people having access to those funds. So for example, in the crypto lending space, we are talking about the management of private keys, cold storage, redundant security layers, and other protective systems which most users are not even thinking about. One of the risk factors to consider are also fake projects. We have already witnessed this fraud by platforms like Kutzel, Groupier or Investio. There is no guarantee that this won't happen again, as there seems to be no resolution for investors and no punishment for the scammers. Running a Ponzi scheme where the platform pays out the interest from the deposits of newly attracted users is also a risk to keep in mind. Furthermore, several crypto lending platforms openly admitted to gambling with users' funds, so there is that. Terms and conditions are often amended to fit the development of the platform, which is somehow a very organic process. The problem arises when the platform is not even honoring its terms and conditions and protecting its own interest. I've seen this too many times in the industry without any consequences or fines for the platform. If no one regulates the company, the platform can breach the terms at any time. So practically speaking, you can use the terms and conditions to wipe your rear end. If you are investing in claim rights, you should get a loan agreement or at least an assignment agreement, which is the contract between you and the borrower or a platform. Reading the terms at least once when you start investing is a good practice. If there is no loan contract, it's not legal. Suppose you cannot get insights into the financial situation of a platform. Well, in that case, it can increase the risk significantly, as you have no idea how the platform is doing financially. The platform risk can also be mitigated by investing on a regulated platform, although regulation comes with additional bureaucracy and taxes. So those are the major risks to consider in this one category. Most of this stuff you can already find on P2P Empire. The best way to mitigate the platform risk is to know the management and analyze their track record. If the management is shady or incompetent, chances are that all the other risks will materialize at some point. We suggest reviewing the risk and return rating on individual reviews, which is a good benchmark for the risk you take within a specific platform type. The risk between various platform types varies significantly. Generally speaking, the least platform risk that you will experience is on a regulated and well-established crowdlending platform, followed by P2P lending platforms, marketplaces, and lastly crypto lending and earning platforms, which come with the highest level of platform risk. Let's look at the lender risk, which is relevant as it directly impacts the performance of your loans. Some lenders follow a very high risk appetite reflected by poorly designed borrower scorecards or aggressive pricing and debt collection. Some opportunistic lenders might also operate illegally in an unregulated market. Poor debt recovery management can also increase the risk for investors. It's not uncommon that lenders simply did not honor their obligation and declared that they would not repay investors, which is basically fraud. While in some markets it's not required to reveal audited financial reports publicly, it's a good practice to provide audited financials that follow the IFRS to investors so they can review some of the key financials. The most critical indicator is, however, the performance of the loan portfolio, which is not being publicly shared with investors. Lenders don't want other competitors to see this data. If the lender defaults, the company gets suspended and the marketplace tells you, well, you got bad luck. To minimize this risk, you must again research the management of the lender and make sure that the marketplace has the best interest in protecting investors. This is a piece of information that you will also be able to find in our reviews. Any lender's risk scores provided by the P2P marketplace usually are to be taken with a grain of salt, and so are the independent scoring websites who lack any actual data about the portfolio performance of the lender, which is in most cases not even available for the platform. There are only a few exceptions in the industry who have access to the live performance of the portfolio, and those are already the top-rated platforms on P2P Empire. You should note that some lenders will eventually default, but realistically speaking, one can always recover at least some of the debt. If the marketplace does not have a good track record in recovering investors' funds, it's a sign to stay away from it or be extremely picky about the lenders you choose. Otherwise, chances are that your money gets stuck in pending payments or recoveries. So let's talk about the borrower risk, the risk that the person or company taking a loan from you won't be able to repay it. Suppose you are investing in short-term consumer loans. In that case, chances are that your investment is backed by a buyback guarantee, which is essentially a promise from the lending company to repurchase your investment should the borrower be delayed with its payments for more than 60 days. This is a good protection which will keep you out of most bad consumer loans. The quality of the buyback guarantee can vary depending on the lender, so ideally you get periodic insights into the company's financials. If you're investing in business loans backed by collateral, it's possible that the higher inflation or any other business-related risk for the borrower will materialize. This means that the lending company, which is often a crowdlending platform, will have to liquidate the collateral and repay the money. This can take several months, so investors should be patient. Most crowdlending platforms do a decent job of protecting investors from borrower risk. It's undoubtedly also connected to the level of platform and lender risk. If the platform performs poorly in those two risk categories, it's a sign that one should not rely on them to protect you from the borrower risk. So there is undoubtedly a correlation between all four risk categories that you should keep in mind. Alright, so let's talk about the market risk, which is one of the most challenging risk factors to evaluate. The market risk represents any external risk that may impact the operation of a platform, lender, or even the borrower. Most investors fund loans in euro, but the loans are often issued in different currencies depending on the market where the lending company is operating. The volatility between two currencies can positively or negatively impact the lending company. If the euro is losing its value against a foreign currency, it's good for the lender, and if the foreign currency is losing value against the euro, it's bad for the lender. This is something that investors who invested in VOVO loans on Mintos already have a good experience with, as the lender got suspended on Mintos and the investors' funds got locked. If you are investing in loans issued in other currencies, you should monitor the volatility of the currency pairs. Another risk in this category is the country's risk, including political and regulatory risks. An energy crisis, domestic conflicts, and high level of corruption may harm the lender's operations and, by extension of that, the performance of your investments. The regulatory risk is something retail investors in Europe will have a hard time monitoring. New regulations for lenders can be introduced anytime, which may decrease the profitability of the lending company. We have also witnessed the revocation of a lending license in Armenia from the lender Varks, which is owned by one of the shareholders of Mintos. Whether lending companies and marketplaces should be held responsible for such situations is up for discussion, The fact is, however, that investors are the ones paying for it. It's been more than 2 years since the lender got suspended on Mintos, and more than 12 million euro of investors' funds are still locked. So in situations like these, a buyback guarantee or even a group guarantee is not being honored, and hardworking investors are losing money. The owner of the lender keeps expanding his lending operations in other markets or investing in new businesses, which is why you should not trust every cashback promotion you see on a dedicated platform. Often it's simply just not worth it. You can learn more about the dark side of P2P lending in a dedicated video. Apart from the mentioned risks, we also have to consider force majeure events such as the war in Ukraine, which completely cut off any outgoing transfers from war-affected countries to Europe. Tropical storms in Asia or the global pandemic are also unexpected scenarios that may harm the lending business in affected markets. If you are interested in minimizing the market risk, you must stay informed about what's happening worldwide and follow various news outlets. I would not rely on a P2P lending marketplace to protect my investments from market risks. Sometimes lenders can shield you from potential domestic risks, but no one can shield you from unexpected, sudden, harmful events. So I hope that this video gives you some good insights into the risks that impact your P2P investments. The P2P lending industry is a fast-pacing environment, which means that you should do your best to stay informed about the latest developments on the platform of your choice, as well as in the market where you lend your money. While it's impossible to avoid all the risks, proper research about the management of the platform and lenders will help you to mitigate the chances for harmful events, as there is a clear correlation between the track record and competency of the management and the risks associated with your investment. If you want to get more insights about various platforms, head over to P2P Empire, binge watch some of the other videos on this channel, or become a member at buymeacoffee.com/P2P-Empire, where you can access some exclusive interviews with various people running those companies. If you can think of any other risks which were not mentioned, let me know in the comments below. If you found this video valuable, hit the like button. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.